I am such an awesome guy. I make so many videos.
Hello there, Price of Reason here with a series review. Well, it's no secret that the first season of the Quantum Leap sequel series was an absolute mess. Season 2, which barely got greenlit to begin with, was at least an opportunity for showrunner Martin Giro and his team of activists, writers, to try and fix so many of the show's ongoing issues. And while Episode 1 seemingly tried to do so with some course correction, Episode 2, which featured a 3-year time jump in present day, was one of the worst episodes of the series to date. Obviously, this didn't exactly give me much hope that Episode 3 would be any better, but as always, I still gave it a fair chance. In this video, I will go over the plot for Season 2, Episode 3, what I liked about the episode, what I didn't like about the episode, followed by an important announcement, and then my official score. Season 2, Episode 3 starts with Ben leaping into some type of government agent in the 1940s, looking into possible UFO sightings. It turns out that two young ladies were driving out one night and may or may not have encountered some extraterrestrials. At the end, it turns out that there was some type of ploy by a top-secret military unit that seemingly framed one of the girls in the car and made it look like she's a drunk driver or something. Ben then helps her grandfather clear her name. Ben talks about his feelings with his disappointed fiancée, who's moved on with her life since she thought he was dead. So throughout the episode, Ben is very disappointed with his disappointed fiancée, and in turn, his disappointed fiancée tells Magic in present day just how disappointed Ben is. In addition, we're also introduced to some diner lady who, according to Martin Giro, will apparently appear in future episodes of this show. In this episode, Ben tells her that she's the best physicist in the world, and she should leave her job at the diner and go study physics at Princeton. Diner lady immediately agrees with Ben, and then the episode ends. If I had to say anything good about this episode, it's that the actor that plays the grandfather is actually a decent actor who really tries his best to add some depth to his character. Unfortunately, he really isn't given much to do here in this episode, so his efforts largely go unnoticed. Now let's talk about what I didn't like. Number 1, the writing. This show has produced a lot of stinkers to date, but honestly, this episode just may be a new low. The idea of potentially encountering aliens is actually interesting, and it's one that the original series explored much more effectively. Unfortunately, the writing here is so bad that I would consider it a series low. It's simply awful, and even worse, it's extremely boring. Between the cringe dialogue, the plot conveniences, and the contrivances here, this episode ends up being practically unwatchable. The leap itself is a total mess. At no time do you care about any of these characters or what they're going through. If you told me that ChatGPT wrote this episode, I would actually be surprised because I would think that ChatGPT could do a better job at writing this episode. It's really that bad. I don't know how this thing was greenlit unless they just don't even care anymore. There's no enthusiasm here, there's no adventure, there's nothing, it's just so poorly done. I feel like a group of fans, if they wanted to do fan fiction, could do something with more heart and soul than what we get here. And that may be the only way that we could ever see something that actually looks like Quantum Leap, because this show on NBC, this version of this show, I don't think it's made for Quantum Leap fans, not fans of the original show. It's not like the show is doing great in the ratings either, so I really don't know who the audience is here. But I suppose that's a discussion for another video. Number 2, soapy drama. I often mention how much I dislike the soapy drama on this show, but this time, I just felt like turning it off mid-episode. I found myself just zoning out, wanting to doze off, looking at my phone. It just was so uninteresting. Nobody gives a shit about Ben's feelings and about his disappointed fiancée. This is the one thing that keeps tanking the show, and instead of letting it go altogether and just making this character disappear, they're doubling down, they're tripling down on it. Now they have another lady, there's more love interest. She'll have a love interest, I guess Ben will have this lady as a love interest who's sort of another girl boss. Nobody needs this. This is complicating things. Sometimes you have a certain formula that works, and formula isn't a bad thing. The original Quantum Leap on one hand had a structure, but on the other hand, within that structure, every episode felt like you were in a different world. This new show doesn't accomplish that. It misses the mark entirely. It's made by people who simply don't understand it. To put it bluntly, this team that's in charge of the show has taken a beloved sci-fi series and transformed it into a lazy, dull, boring telenovela, and it just keeps getting worse. Number 3, new character. This show works best when there's two main characters, the Leaper and the Hologram. It worked well in the original series, and would have worked again in the new one. And while it's fine to change things up a bit in a new show, but this show is so off target with all of its changes that it shouldn't even be allowed to be called Quantum Leap anymore. At best, you could call this show Quantum because that's exactly what it is. Number 4, Martin Gero. In recent years, we've heard a lot about producers that have completely destroyed franchises with existing fan bases. Some notable examples are Alex Kurtzman with Star Trek, or J.J. Abrams, Rian Johnson, and Kathleen Kennedy with Star Wars. And Martin Gero is absolutely that type of writer-producer. The reason why most people don't know his name is because Quantum Leap just isn't as big a franchise as those other ones, and it's not considered as high profile. But in my opinion, he's probably one of the worst producers that I've ever seen. And if anybody actually judged him based on his merit, then they likely would have let him go between season 1 and 2. But I guess he produces this show quickly and cheaply, so maybe that's why they keep him around. Other than that, I simply have no other explanation. While I could continue to tell you what I didn't like about this episode, honestly, it was so bad that there really isn't even much to say. It's such a pathetic episode, and it's not even laughably bad. I couldn't even think of funny things to say about how much I don't like it, because sometimes a show reaches a level of being bad that it's not even worthy of the jokes. But when something is so bad, you have to wonder, is it worth more reviews? I mean, I would hope that they'll do something better than this, but this is really, really bad. From the story, to the dialogue, to the acting, to everything, not only was this episode a good example for why this whole series is a failure, it was a good example for everything that's wrong with Hollywood today. And although this show has had many of these type of episodes that I didn't like in the past, I just feel like this time I couldn't even find a silver lining, even the smallest silver lining, anything. I was fighting to say something good about it, and really, it doesn't deserve anything. Now, before we go, as I had mentioned last time, if you're a fan of the original Quantum Leap, please make sure to also subscribe to my other channel, Price of Reason Live. At some point, I may shift my Quantum Leap reviews to there, maybe do some live streams, and based on what a few people have already asked me in recent months, maybe I'll even do videos about the original classic series, which wasn't shit like this one. When it comes to score, I give this episode a 5 out of 100, so obviously it's a fail. Again. And really, to be honest with you, if I had to say why I gave it 5 points, I'm not really sure. I don't like to give something a 0 out of 100. But if there was an episode that deserved 0 out of 100 from Quantum Leap, I would say it's this one. Worst episode of the series, they don't know what they're doing. Now, usually I would ask you what you thought about Quantum Leap Season 2, Episode 3, and then ask you if you loved it, but I'm assuming here that nobody loved it, so let's just skip to the part that I tell you that you can leave me your thoughts in the comments, and of course, you should consider subscribing to my channel, this one and the other one, and also clicking on that wonderful notification bell. Thanks for watching, my friends. Thank you, and good day.
I am such an awesome guy. I make so many videos.